All right. Good morning, everyone. Matt Braden here from the GPAR professional team. Glad to have everybody here on this Thursday morning. Before we get started with our presentation with Janis Benstock, just a few things I want to bring to everyone's attention. Tomorrow, coffee talk. We usually do coffee talk on Monday mornings. This week, we're going to wrap up the week instead of start the week. And that coffee talk conversation is going to be at 9 o'clock with Stephanie Biello, our 2020 president. And we're going to have as a special guest, Hank Lerner from PAR. Hank oversees the legal hotline, so we're going to get a legal update from Hank. So we're going to be talking about all things related to COVID and legal stuff along those lines. We're going to talk about the new code of ethics changes that recently came down from NAR at last month's meeting, and other things that have been going on with the hotline. Some of the most frequently asked questions as it pertains to our members, both statewide as well as locally here. So hopefully we can knock out some of those different things that you guys are coming across during the course of your work. So Hank, he's got a really good and funny personality in the way he presents his stuff. So it'll be a really good hour worth of time spent with us. The Horizons Committee for GPAR is hosting a fundraiser, and that is the Feed Philly 5K. It's a virtual 5K, $20 to register. You get a t-shirt, good things happen in Philadelphia across the front, and then on the back, we have the name of the event as well as who it's benefiting, and that would be Phil Abundance. There are a lot of hungry people in Philadelphia and in the Delaware Valley, so the need is really great, probably greater than ever right now. And we're looking to go ahead and give back to our community and the communities that we live, work, and play in. So hopefully you guys will consider that. We've sent out email blasts about that. I'll drop a link inside the chat. So we would love to have you guys register and raise a little bit of money for that 5K. The 5K, what is it? You don't have to go ahead and run. You can walk, crawl, row a boat, move your body for 5 kilometers over the span of a week. And truth be told, if you didn't do anything for 5K, we wouldn't tell anybody as long as you help raise some money for Phil Abundance. So not sure that's the way I should be plugging that, but needless to say, we're just trying to go ahead and help some folks out in our area. So with that, we get to today's presentation. We are so pleased to have Janis Benstock with us. Janis is a great contributor to GPAR. She's a part of our board of directors. She has done code of ethics trainings for us. We are really, really happy that she's a part of the GPAR family and is leading not only through her volunteerism, but also in terms of trying to raise the level of professionalism and help you guys get the tools and resources you need to be successful. So with that, I introduce Janis Benstock.
Hi, Matt. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Really fancy and almost normal again. So know me. For those of you who don't, I am an avid advocate. I guess that's redundant. I'm an advocate for building your business organically. And what I mean by that is just not comfortable with the whole cold calling to me, and it might work for you guys. And that's for those of you who feel like I used to feel, that's the hardest part of this job, is getting your clients, right? It's the hunt. We wake up every day unemployed. And don't have a way to go ahead and do it. And that's how you set yourself up for failure. I'm going to talk today about how to convert your contacts into clients. And I'm just going to do a quick second to share my screen and bring up my presentation. And I will stick around at the end of some extra resources that Donna's going to put links to in the chat. And I'll talk about them at the end, but that way you'll have time to grab the links. They'll be in the chat the whole entire grab that. So let me go ahead and share my screen. That's my life is. So,
hey, Janis.
So here's me. Yeah.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Janis?
Yeah.
Is anyone else having problems here with choppiness and stuff? Can you get a shake of the head? Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of like breaking up on us, Janice. So I don't know if maybe your internet connection is a little bit rough there or not.
Hold on. My internet, I have 5 bars. I have 5 bars. I don't know. Except for maybe I should log off and log back on. Is it that bad?
You're coming in good now, so.
I am? Okay, well, I have 5
Yeah.
bars. If it gets bad again, tell me and I can jump off and jump on maybe.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. It's the world of Zoom. But here I am. Okay, so this is our presentation today is convert your contacts into clients. And this is me pre-COVID days when I actually got out and got makeup on and looked fancy. This is me for those of you who don't know me. My mission, I'm a broker and I'm a volunteer, I'm on the board of directors at GPAR, but my mission is to empower agents to become wealthy in real estate, but by creating an authentic life and business without having to rely on cheesy scripts or cold calling. And so I want to start off by today, you're here by choice and multitasking is bad for your brain. I don't care what people tell you and make it seem like it's a badge of honor, but it's bad. There's studies about it. It wastes up to 40% of your productivity. And I'm going to be short and sweet and to the point today because I have no patience for slow talkers. So I'm not one of them. So please, please, please try and turn off your phone. I know you're real estate agents, but please try. So my mission, my motto is cold calling sucks. And I hope I don't offend anyone with my vulgar language. That's the G-rated version. But if you don't like to cold call, this will help you figure out a better way. So if you're the person that ever wonders where your next buyer is coming from, especially now with limited open houses, today's going to help. If you're ever looking at other listing agents and wondering why you're not listing, that used to be me. I used to look at them and be really envious. Today's for you. Or if you're just wondering how much longer you can afford to stay in business without any business, today's going to help. I see agents all the time talking about how they're going to drop out of the business because they have no clients. So if you want to get buyers and sellers without resorting to cold calling or spending thousands of dollars a month each, is thousands of dollars each month on leads. We're going to talk about that today. So if you've tried every lead generating fad you could find and nothing worked, guess what? It's not you, it's them. Those lead generating fads don't work. They're like fad diets. So cut yourself a break and know it wasn't you. If you'd give up just about anything, including wine, to just have your fairy godmother come down and show you what the F to do to get clients, I gotcha. I'm curious, and if you put it in the chat, who are you? Are you the one that wants to get buyers and sellers without resorting to cold calling and spending all that money on leads? Are you the one that's tried every lead generation fad you could find and nothing worked? Or are you the one that would give up wine for your fairy godmother to come down and show you how to do it? Put it in the chat. Tell me who you are, and we'll go in and answer questions. And if you're number 4, if you've got something else, put that in there because we all have our reasons. So let's talk about what we're going to learn today. It's 3 simple things. The first thing is how to stop the paralysis and choose the 5 people that you're going to call first. And we're not talking about cold calling, so don't freak out. It's easy, fun ways to call people. The next thing is what say when you call them, so you actually look forward to pick. Kept saying I was going to do it, but I never could pick up the phone because I was like, what am I going to say? And it feels creepy. You have to be able to be comfortable with it. Otherwise you're not going to wake up and do it. And the last thing we're going to talk internet connections unstable. Can you guys hear me? It says so we're going to talk about the simple secret to converting a contact into client. So what my business used to look like. You were not alone. It used to be a roller coaster. I call it the feast or famine cycle. And I don't know about you, but I would have really busy, full pipeline and lots of clients. And be really busy servicing those clients and then nothing. And it wasn't fun. I was this woman over here, right? I wasn't the one smiling and laughing. I was the one that was ready to throw up in the back of my mouth because I couldn't live like that anymore. And I almost left the industry. I had no consistent way to get leads because I had no plan, and all the plans that people were telling me didn't feel right. Here's one. I don't know about you, but I felt like a fraud because I called myself a real estate agent, and that's what I was, but I wasn't actually doing anything. I felt like a phony and like a fake, and it really messed with my self-esteem. And the absolute worst part for me was that I saw other agents and they were bad enough, but I actually looked at their success and it was a reminder of my own failure, and it made me feel like garbage. It spiraled me down to the point where this was me. I hit rock bottom. I felt like garbage, and I actually almost got a 9-to-5 job, which to me was a sellout because I didn't want to work to make money to pay someone to raise my kids. That just wasn't me. And I ended up at my friend's house for dinner one night crying over a glass of wine, looking like that, except for not blonde. Wine, lots of wine. And then I started talking to her husband, who's really successful. And he told me one thing that changed my life. It changed my business. And he said, you have to plant seeds every single day. And it's simple. Told me that before, but for some reason, when he told me that, it starts with calling 5 people every single day. It's that simple. So now my pipeline's full and I have consistent closings. Clients refer me to their friends. And the best part is all those negative feelings I had about myself faded away. And now I'm balanced and I just simply have enough. So I'm right where I want to be, and I want you to be there too. This is customized to make it fit for you, and you could be that agent that's productive and balanced. So if you're ready to be that agent, down and listen up, because this is going to choose the 5 people to call. The pillar of your business is to call 5 people a day, and that number can be adjusted up for you. I have tools in my blog. My blog posts, the link to my blog is in there, and I have blog posts on backwards planning and ways to help you figure out how many people call a day, but let's just say 5 for now. Call 5 people every day, and it begins with your sphere of influence. And don't let that term freak you out because it sounds so fancy. All your sphere of influence is a notebook. You grab a notebook and you start brainstorming, and you just write down the names of all the people you know. And here's the key about brainstorming. So brainstorming is meant to be a group activity where everybody feeds off of each other, and you ask a question and people in the room start dumping answers. Well, I adapted this to be a solo activity because you're not in a room brainstorming your SOI with other people. You're just doing it yourself. So the idea here is that you're going to just be dumping names, and the more names you dump, the more juices in your brain are going to flow, and you're going to dump more names. The golden rule of the first step of brainstorming is it's just dumping and no analyzing, because the minute you look at a name that you wrote down and start questioning yourself, oh, I can't call them, or, oh, that's my gynecologist, that would be weird, or I dated that person, I can't call them, then you stop the brainstorming process. So we're not going to analyze, we're just going to dump. And you're going to write that down, and you're going to keep it somewhere so you can keep adding names to it as time goes on. And despite the fact that it's 2020 and we're paperless and electronic, there's something to be said about writing it down, about the tactile, the muscle memory, and what it does to your brain to open up the channels and dump more names on there. So I urge you to actually grab a pen and paper. And then if you want to categorize it and organize it electronically, you can, but it's imperative that you do it pen and paper, because that's the way it's going to be the most effective. So once you have your SOI, then first of all, do you have one? Because if you don't, you need to. And the second thing is, if you have one, do you know how many people are on it? And you should, because even though we do this organically, we have to do some backwards planning, and we have to do a little bit of number tracking to make sure that we're on target to meet our goals, because we all have to eat, right? So now that you know how many names are on your SOI, I want you to start aiming to add 5 names a week. And again, 5 is a round number. You can add as many as you need to. And I also wrote plenty of blog posts on how to add people to your SOI, so you can read those later. But the important thing is to keep adding names to your SOI. The next step is to look at it often. And the reason why you want to look at it often is to create what I call hyper awareness. And by looking at these names often, and when I say often, it should be part of your daily routine that you just skim over the list, because when you do that, those names register in your brain, and then something will come up later in your daily life that's going to make you think of that person and give you a reason to call them. So I'll talk more about that later, but just trust me, it works. It feels almost like magic. So just make sure that you look at this often. It has to be something that's part of your daily routine. So now when you have this list and you're looking at it often, part of your daily routine, and I do a whole other training on this on scheduling, so I'll just give you the brief, the synopsis, is that the success of calling 5 people a day and building a business and a schedule that works is to, at the end of every day, clear your space, your desk, your kitchen table, whatever it is, your car, wherever you work from, and get out a paper for tomorrow and write down the important things you're going to do. When I say important, I mean planting seeds, calling people, building your business, not the busy bull S work that you have to do, the tasks, the urgent things, the reactionary work. I'm talking about the important stuff to build your business. So today we're talking about the 5 people that you're going to call. So when you're doing that at the end of the day, the way to do it is grab that SOI and a highlighter. And as you start reading it, because you've created hyper awareness, there are names that are going to feel like they jump out at you. Highlight those names and put them on your list, and they're the people that you're going to call tomorrow. Now, that's great. You've figured out the 5 people to call, but you still have no idea what to say, so you're not going to do it. Well, here's how you start the conversation. It's so super easy. Three things to think of before you get the conversation started. And one is to get your head on straight. Because when you build your business organically, the purpose of picking up the phone and calling is not to say, hi, do you need to buy or sell real estate? That's another version of a script. That's another version of a cold call. The reason we are calling people is to make a connection. And if you remember that and you lead with making a human connection, you are going to, one, always want to pick up the phone because it's not creepy or annoying. And 2, people are going to want to listen to you because you're calling from a place of genuine connection rather than trying to sell them something. The next step is to remember to be genuine. Not all people are your people. We cannot be everything to everyone. And again, that's a reason to me why cold calling doesn't work. Why am I going to call a list of 100 random people that I bought, not knowing if they're my people? I'm only going to be myself. And listen, some of you out there might be like, oh my God, Janis rocks. She's the greatest. And other ones of you may have hung up already. You're not even here anymore. Or you're sitting there going, oh, I can't stand her, but I don't want to be rude and hang up. I'm okay with that, right? Because I'm me and I speak to the people who hear me, right? We can't be everything to everyone. And so when you pick up the phone and you call someone, it can't be about you, and it can't be about you trying to fit the mold to be everything to everyone. Be yourself. Just be yourself. And the next thing is to be interested, not interesting. And I love to use this across all aspects of my life and not just business. And when I say be interested, not interesting, be interested in the person that you're calling. Be interested in the person you meet at a party or a networking event. Instead of talking about yourself the entire time, you already know everything about yourself. You're not going to learn anything, and you're not going to make that person feel confident and want to talk to you. So make them feel special. Ask questions about them and learn something. Be interested in them rather than interesting. Now, you have your head on straight. You know to be genuine. You know to be interested instead of interesting. What do you say when you pick up the phone? Here are some conversation starters. You can write them down and they can jog your memory, and they're simple and they're easy. Pick up the phone. I was just thinking of you. How are you doing during shutdown? Or I'm just checking in to see how the kids are doing with no camp. How are you holding up, or no school? I did this in the summer. Or I miss you and my friends. Do you want to do a virtual happy hour? Or I know you do work with that animal rescue. I want to help. What do they need? See, all of these are genuine and they're real. And let's go back to the hyper awareness. If you start looking at your list all the time, every day, and you see someone on there that does animal rescue, and you happen to start fostering yourself, or you've been thinking about it, or your dog died, and now you see that person's name on there, something's going to click in your brain. And now you're going to have a conversation starter. You're going to have a genuine reason that you want to call them and talk to them. You can also say things like, whoops, I'm click happy. I saw that post of the cake you baked and it looked amazing. And you can ask them follow-up questions about it. Was it worth the calories, or will you send me the recipe? And the key to this one is that we do a lot on social media, especially now in the time of COVID and the time of shutdown. And it's great to make connections online, but when you take that extra step and bring them offline, and instead of just leaving a comment on someone's post, you actually pick up the phone and call them and start a conversation and tell them that their cake looked amazing, because it really did. Now you're starting to make a real connection, and you're making yourself different from all the people. You're standing out and actually having a conversation with somebody. I went by your house yesterday and your tulips look gorgeous. I didn't know you had a green thumb, or I loved your holiday decorations, or that's a really nice new Maserati in your driveway, whatever it is that you see. How about, do you want to meet for a walk? Or you were in my dream last night. Now, this one you have to be really careful with, because this can be really, really creepy. So first of all, make sure they were really in your dream and it wasn't creepy, and it's somebody that you can tell about it. And I always start this one off with like, you're in my dream last night, but it wasn't creepy. I always start off with that way so that I don't freak them out and tell them. But when I do have dreams about people and I call them to tell them that they were in my dream, that's like a super great conversation starter. Or I miss you. Do you want to meet for coffee or a drink? Or I miss you. I want to hear your voice. I called my best friend yesterday and I haven't talked to her in like 3 weeks. And she's like, what's the matter? And I said, I just miss you. And we talked for 20 minutes. And like, that's good for your soul, even if it doesn't lead to a transaction. This one, I'm showing a house around the corner from you. Do you want to see it? Or do you want to grab lunch afterwards? I love this one. This one's like double dipping, because you're genuinely throwing in there that you're interested in talking to them, but you're also slipping in there that it's real estate related and it's natural. So that one, I love when you can slide them into the conversation that way and they don't feel like they're forced. I love your hair, your garden, your outfit. Where did you go to get it? Who cut your hair? Some sort of genuine compliment makes a person feel good and starts a conversation. If you want to do it texting, and here's how I feel about texting. Texting has a reason, it has a purpose, it serves a purpose, but texting should be a way to get to a conversation. You need to have an exit strategy, because if you get into a texting conversation with somebody and it goes on and on and on with no end in sight, and you have no way to lead it from text to phone call, your relationship is not going anywhere. So in order to transact with someone in real estate, you need to have some sort of connection with them. So be very careful about using texting. So you can use it for certain things, like I just read this book and thought of you. You must read it. I all the time will take either a picture of something I saw in a book that made me think of someone, or a link to buy it through an online independent bookseller and say, you have to read this book. Or I'll even send them a book with a note in it, is another thing that you can do. You could say, I just walked past that store you love and they're having a sale. Or you could take a picture and say your favorite store is back open again. Something that made you think of them. So now that we know how to start the conversation with people, we know the 5 people to call. Now here is the part, what I hope you're wondering is like, oh, great. So calling people, that's a social activity. How am I going to turn that person, that phone call, that social interaction into a client? And I'm going to show you that right now. But before I do, I just want to back up for a second and say this. Real estate is a relationship-based business. This is another reason why I don't believe in cold calling. This is another reason why we have to up our game, because we're competing against the Zillows of the world. Don't even get me started. Who are putting everything online and everything, they're taking the relationship out of it. Real estate transactions are the most expensive and usually the most emotional experience of someone's life, right? It's a big thing to buy or sell your house financially and emotionally, and it's an upheaval in your life. So people want to transact in real estate with people that they know, like, and trust. And the beauty of our business is that everyone is a potential client because everybody needs a place to live. And even if the people that we're meeting are online and they live in another state, and we're doing a lot more online right now, there's still a potential client or deal, not a client, but a deal, because we can refer them to another agent in another state. So even if we're meeting people on social media or someone's on our sphere of influence that lives in another state or moved across the country, and we have a conversation with them, they could end up referring us someone here, or they could need real estate services out in California and we could refer them to somebody. So the whole purpose of making these calls to people that you know is to stay top of mind and make connections. And it feels natural and genuine, so you'll want to do it. But then we have to figure out how to monetize it. Otherwise, it's just social time. So let's talk about that now, because this is the secret sauce. And again, the first thing is to get your head in the game. Mindset is so super important. So get your head in the game. And what I want you to think about with getting your head in the game is what I call fake it till you make it. You have to have real estate topics to talk about. Real estate has to be top of mind for you. Otherwise, it's not going to come up in the conversation naturally. And how do you do that? Wrote a blog post on that. It's in my blog. You do things like preview properties, like go to open houses, host open houses, read your market stats on MLS, look at your hot sheet. Things like that you can do even if you don't have any clients. And that way you get your head in the game. So when you have that conversation with someone, the progression to talk about real estate is natural. You mirror their language. Now this is like super, super great stuff. Hang on. Sorry, I talk a lot. My throat gets dry. When someone talks to you, like I'm a fast talker and I slow it down a little bit for here, but if you are a slow talker, I probably drive you extra crazy. When I talk to slow talkers, I just lose my mind and I can't, because people are uncomfortable when the language speed, the speed of their language is different. So in order to make someone feel comfortable, in order to make someone know, like, and trust you, mirror their language. If you're a really fast talker and they're a slow talker, slow down a little bit, and vice versa. By mirroring their language, they automatically, and they don't even know why, but they automatically start to feel more comfortable. It's just like we talk about body language. When you mirror someone's body language, there are ways that you do that. You can't do it too much and too creepy, but there's studies about mirroring people's body language and it makes them feel comfortable. It's the same thing with language. And the next step, this is my favorite part, is creating curiosity. This is the step where you're getting permission from someone. Cold calling, you're not getting permission. You're calling them up and you're just dumping information on them. This is me. This is my services. Do you need anything? You didn't ask them if you could start talking about real estate. When you create curiosity in a conversation, that's when you're asking for permission for you to turn the conversation from, hey, how you doing, to I sell houses and here's how we do it. You call someone on your sphere of influence and you start out with a conversation starter like, hey, I've been thinking of you. How are you? And they say back, oh, I'm doing great. How are you? And then you say, I'm good, thanks. Then what happens to the conversation? Nothing. It's dead. There's nowhere to go from there. But if you say, hi, how are you? And she says, I'm doing great. How are you? And instead you say something like, great, I'm tired though. The market's insane. Well, now she says to you, well, what do you mean the market's insane? Or like, what are you talking? Why are you so tired? What have you been doing? And now she's given you permission to start talking about real estate, to say, oh, I'm tired. The market, I've been representing buyers and I had somebody that's like a multiple offer situation. It's crazy. And you let the conversation go from there. Now, if they don't nibble, if they don't give you permission and you say, great, I'm tired of the market's insane. And they're like, oh yeah, did I tell you my cousin's pregnant? Now they haven't nibbled and now you didn't get permission to start talking about real estate. So now you talk about the pregnant cousin and you can try again to create curiosity and get permission. But if it doesn't work, this conversation might not be going to real estate today. And that's okay, because what was our purpose for calling? It wasn't to sell them a house. Remember, it was to make a connection. And if today that person needs to talk about their pregnant cousin, that's what you talk about. And, maybe you don't want to stay on the phone for 20 minutes talking about their pregnant cousin, but you know that you haven't gotten that permission. You could also say another way to try and create curiosity and get permission is they say, how are you? And you're like, great, but I actually am missing quarantine a little. Why would you say that? Well, I loved sitting in my pajamas and reading. Now I'm out showing houses all the time. And the conversation goes from there. But it's imperative to remember that what you're doing is you're asking for permission to talk about real estate. And if you don't get the permission, you need to shut your mouth and talk about what they want to talk about. Because if you don't, you're going to make them feel creepy. And it's worse than a cold call, because it's somebody that you already know and they feel safe when you called. And now all of a sudden it's like you bamboozled them. You smacked them over the head to trick them into talking about real estate. So now what if she says, because there's also, that's the way to do it. Here's the way to not do it. She says, oh, I'm great. What have you been up to? And you say, oh my God, I'm so busy. I've been working 5 hours a day and blah, blah, blah. And you just blather on and like beat her over the head with real estate. Again, you skipped the step of getting permission to be able to talk about real estate. And now she's just thinking like, shut the fuck, right? So that doesn't work either. Remember to be interested, not interesting. That's the purpose of the call. So when you talk to somebody and you're asking them for permission, you have to be interested in them and not blather on about yourself and be interested. So you could say a whole bunch of things. Here are some more examples. I've been exploring Point Breeze and I never spent a lot of time there, but it's a really cool place. Oh, really? Why have you been in Point Breeze? Well, all of a sudden my buyers are there, or I have 3 listings there. Oh, you're in real estate? Oh, that's right. I forgot. Oh, what are the houses like in Point Breeze? Oh, I would love to see those houses. Oh, I wonder what my house is worth. Or I've been running around nonstop lately. I feel like I've been on a road trip to nowhere. That's going to prompt a question, and it could lead to talking about your real estate career. So once you have these conversations and you've asked for permission and you've gotten it, you've created curiosity, and the person is interested in real estate or not interested in real estate, you're still going to book a follow-up, because this is going to be a consistent practice that you do, and you're going to be rotating people on your sphere. You can't just call them once, you're going to call them over and over again. So if the person was interested in real estate, they had a need and they took a nibble. When you gave them that little hook and they nibbled on it and they said, oh, I'm curious what the houses are like in Point Breeze, or I'm interested in what my house is worth. Now you schedule the follow-up action before you end the call. Like, oh, that's totally fine. I can send you email listings, or I can come look at your house and tell you what it's worth and send you a CMA. And you grab their information and you book the follow-up call. I'll come out Thursday, or I'll set you up on an email drip right now. And you go ahead and you set them up on whatever they wanted as a follow-up. If they're not interested in real estate today, if the conversation if they didn't express a real estate need, then just end the call and put a note in your CRM to follow up with them to see how their son's high school graduation went, or how their surgery is going, or whatever you took from that conversation, and follow up with them at a later date. Ending the call. So let's say you're on the call and you need to end it. We all know how to do that intuitively. We find that pause, the natural break, and you insert your ending, especially if they're talking nonstop about their cousin being pregnant. You're like, I'm done. That's not why I called. You find that pause and you do the natural break. But what if there's no ending? Like, what if you can't get a word in edgewise? This is where you use the trick of mirroring their language, but you flip it. We all know those people. You don't have a word in edgewise. So what you do then is you go the opposite of their rate of speech. So if they're a fast talker, you slow down, and they will intuitively feel uncomfortable and miss a beat. And when they miss that beat, that's your pause that you can slide in your ending to end the call. Because there's some people that know what to say, want to call, but they're afraid to call, right? Agents are afraid to call because they're afraid they can't ever get off the phone because you don't have the skills or you don't know how to get someone to shut up when it's time to end the call. So you go the opposite rate of speech, and then you slip in your ending. Oh, it's so great to talk to you. Or I'll let you get back to your day, or thanks for spending a few minutes to chat with me. It was really great to catch up. And that's how you end the call. So today we learned how to choose the 5 people to call each day. You're going to create your sphere of influence, and you're going to read it often and create top of mind, create hyper awareness. Then we learned what to say to them so you'll actually look forward to making your calls. And those are some simple conversation starters, and they're going to come up naturally because you're going to be looking at this list every single day, and your brain is magical and it will bring up connections for you. It will remind you of reasons to call people. I love doing this activity because it's almost like the names are figurative, like they're jumping out at me. And it's really cool what your brain does. And I'd love to hear from you if you do that and that happens to you. Then we talked about how to gently introduce your real estate business into the conversation. And that's by creating curiosity and asking permission for you to start talking about real estate. And I bring my new agents out on, we used to, before COVID, we used to go on open house tours, like preview tours. I would take them to like 4 or 5 properties that were vacant and like teach them how to show a house. Like I would do the first one and they would teach them how to do a lockbox, like what to look for, all that kind of stuff. And I'll never forget, we were in a group in a condo building, and one of my agents walked in and she just started handing out her cards to everybody, just like randomly walking up to strangers. It's like a face-to-face version of cold calling. And like one of the people she handed to was like a big heavy hitter agent in town that she just didn't know. And I just had to pull her aside. I'm like, no, 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 no. And it made people feel creepy. And she was just trying, she was overzealous. But the thing is, you have to ask permission. You have to make it come up naturally. It's like someone just walking up to you in a bar and being like, let's go get married. You're like, dude, ask like what, I don't even know your name. Like you got to take baby steps. So that's what this is all about. So I want you to leave here today with, if you cold call and you lead gen and all that stuff, but it either feels creepy or you need more and you're wondering like where your next buyer is coming from, or you have doubts about yourself and you saw other agents listing houses and wondered why you weren't, or any of this stuff, that you are going to be the agent who does this now, who's productive and feels natural and balanced and leads this great business that's robust, and you're helping clients. Because that's the thing, when you come to sales as a place of problem solving, as a place of service, you don't feel creepy calling someone and talking to them because you're not trying to convince them to use you. Like, this is one thing you'll never hear me say, and that drives me crazy, is people that teach sales say, oh, what can I do to earn your business? And I just throw up in the back of my mouth. I would never ask someone that, because I don't have to earn their business. I'm here to solve their problem. Right? When you talk to somebody and you actually have tools in your tool belt to help them out of a mess, whether it's a too small house, a too big house, a financial situation, a divorce, whatever that situation is, and you genuinely have the tools to help them, and you've asked them questions and found out what their problem is and found a way to solve it, that's what sales is. It's not trying to convince them or read them down a script to get to the point of action where you get to sell them your product. That's not what it is. And when you come from that place of genuinely trying to serve people and genuinely trying to solve their problems, it doesn't feel creepy to you and it doesn't feel creepy to them. And then you're going to wake up every day and you're going to actually do it. So you're going to have a steady and pain-free way to generate buyers and sellers that you truly enjoy working with. And that's my favorite part of this. You're going to know exactly what to do and in what order to do it to get clients to build your business and enjoy your life. And I have plenty of resources for you. So you can follow me on social. I put lots of tips and tricks for agents how to build their business organically. So there's me. And then the links are in the chat. I have a PDF on 5 pain-free ways to generate leads even in the time of COVID with no open houses, so you can grab onto that. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me an email or DM me or whatever, and I'm happy to help. And I hope that you guys are going to start calling 5 people and not feeling creepy about generating leads, and that it will build your business. So that's the end of my slides. I'll stop my share. And I thank you guys so much for hanging in there.
Okay, who has questions for Janis? Any questions? Anyone feel like they were a fast talker, but now they feel like they're a slow talker compared to Janis?
Right? I'm a fast talker.
I think I'm a hybrid. Sometimes I'm fast, and then other times I'm very slow and deliberate.
But it's really interesting because if you don't think about it, like now when you start talking to people, when you're thinking about it, you're going to notice how other people talk and you're going to notice how you talk. But if you don't pay attention to it, you could be making people feel creepy or uncomfortable and not even realizing it. Like, at least if you realize that that's the first step. You know, I can tell when I talk to some people, because I teach the real estate courses, and some of my students, I can just see their eyes glaze over. And I'm like, I'm a fast talker. It's who I am, and you can't please everybody. But when you're talking one-on-one and you mirror language, it's really effective. I'm just reading the comments. Okay. All right, cool. Any questions? Did anybody find it helpful? Oh yeah, go ahead. Hi, Hannah.
Hi. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
It's a great presentation. Thank you. I think my difficulty is in the topics field, having that in the back of my mind, which topics that I can just really talk about, well.
Do you mean real estate topics or like just?
Yeah, just having, I read all the time and I know so many little things about so many things, but I'd like to have fewer things that I'm stronger discussing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So I'll just talk a minute or two about this. So the way I teach agents to build their business is to start with you're something greater than money. And what I mean by that is you have to have a purpose that's bigger than money. And when you have that purpose, that not only drives you so that you're motivated from within, but so that you don't get burnout and you sound genuine, because you are genuine. And when you have that something greater than money, mine is to educate people. It's to educate people. It's to educate buyers and sellers who don't know, mostly buyers who don't know about real estate and suffer from generational poverty because they didn't have anyone teaching them, and to teach agents how to build their business. So that's my something greater than money. I found ways to monetize that. I don't do it just for fun, but it's fun doing it. So when you find you're something greater than money, that's your thing to talk about, because that's your passion that comes from within. And one of the ways to help there's certain activities to find your something greater than money, but one of the simple ways to do it is to keep a little journal for a few days and just mark down the things that you do every day. You don't have to be like by the minute, but just like, oh, I hung out with my kid, or I went on a walk on nature, I read a book, or I did the dishes, just the things that you do. And then go back and look at the things that bring you joy. And highlight those things with pink or whatever your joyful color is. And start pulling out the things that bring you joy, and then find some way to bring that joy into your business. And I'm more than happy to help you. Like once you do that and you start to find what brings you joy, reach out to me and I'll help you figure out how to translate that into business, because that's the key. That's the key. Yeah. And once you do that, then you're going to naturally have things to talk to people about.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
and I
good.
hope that helps, but feel free to reach out to me. You have all my info.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope that helps. Great question.
Hey, Janis, why don't you tell us about the session that you're going to do next week?
Oh, yeah. So next week I'm doing a session. I forgot. Thank you. I'm doing a session on how to make your buyer's offer strong, even in a crazy seller's market. And that one I love. I narrowed it down. I did a 3.5-hour CE course, and I narrowed it down to like 45 minutes. And it's just ways besides price, and a couple of common ones, but a couple of tricky ones that I sort of made up myself. They're sneaky and they're totally ethical and legal and stuff. But I mean, sneaky, like you wouldn't think to do them. And they're ways to help make your buyer's offer stronger. So that's next week, same time, same place.
It's important to note, Janis is not going to take you down the unethical trail. She is She instructs on code of ethics. So it's something that not only does she put into practice, but she believes in it and instructs on it,
Yes.
and is a part of our board of directors, in which that is a component part of their work. And that's making sure that professional standards of our association are upheld to the highest degree possible. So
The word sneaky was
really-
probably not the best word when we're talking about her. Sorry. It just, I meant sneaky, like, you know, like negotiating wise. That's all I meant. But thanks.
So that's going to be December 10th at 10 a.m. Keep an eye on your inbox, folks. We'll have that login information for you guys, just like we do all the time with the different events that we have for our members. So let's see. I'm going to take one last look in the chat, see if we have any other questions.
Oh, there is one in the chat.
Yeah, there we go.
So the something greater than money has to be directly related, directly or indirectly, to real estate. So this is the hard part, right? This is like, to me, the hard part, like appraisers. How do they know an air conditioner is worth $7,000? Like, you know, an air conditioner is worth more, but how do you, it's more an art than a science. And so if it's not obvious to you how to take your something greater than money and convert it into real estate, reach out to me. But I'll give you a couple of quick examples that maybe will just jog your, or, you know, start you thinking. One of my agents who's here, hi Dina, Dina's here. Dina used to be a roadie and like a production on film crews and stuff. So Dina started a Facebook group for people in the arts. Had nothing to do with real estate, but she created a group of people that know, like, and trust her, and they share something in common. And by doing that, she's expanded her sphere. Remember, the beauty is everybody is a potential client. So you don't have to just target people that are looking to transact right now. You just target people that you share a common value with. And by doing that, you're basically creating a tribe. And when people know, like, and trust you, and you convert the conversation to real estate naturally, they're going to transact with you, right? There's an article in the New York Times, I forget from when, but I'll never forget the article. And it was just, they in the Sunday real estate section, they always highlight buyers and they just tell their story, right? And this one week they talked about these buyers and they were just talking about how they used to rent, you know, it's just their story. But it said in there that the husband volunteered with this woman for like 3 years in whatever organization. And that's how he chose her as a real estate agent. And it was an $800,000 deal. Think about it. You volunteer, you have a passion for saving animals and you volunteer, and this is what you do all day, every day. You bring the real estate piece into that because now you're in the trenches with people who share a common value with you, right? Just remember, it's all about know, like, and trust. The people that strap on headsets and tell you to go to the people who are ready to transact right now, right now, right now, I call bullshit. That's where the farthest, I want to get as far away from those people as I can. It's called the Blue Ocean Strategy. 2 more minutes and I promise I'll be done. I don't want to keep you guys. The Blue Ocean Strategy, look it up. Blue Ocean Strategy says that you could either go after the clients that everyone's going after, and the only way to get them is to be the cheapest, the fastest, to give the most service, to like undercut yourself, and it creates a bloodbath, a red ocean. Instead, you go over to the calm, quiet water where no one is, the dog shelter, the arts group on Facebook, the place where people aren't competing, the blue calm waters, and you create something new and serve your clients that way. And remember that real estate is very unique because everyone is a potential client. People, there are conversations about real estate going on all around you every day. And the more you create hyper awareness by getting your head in the game, you're going to start hearing those conversations. And that's when you lean in and you start talking about what you know. So Hannah, if you want to reach out, I have a Facebook group you can join, like a whole bunch of stuff just to like submerge yourself in all of this. And it's almost like by osmosis, it will start to happen. Okay, cool. All right. Any others? Wait, there's a question. Ever talk too slow to try and compensate for the fact that you know you're a fast talker and have it count against you? I've been caught once or twice with it, and there's any advice to keep things in perspective. Robert, are you still here? Could you jump in? Because I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if Robert's still here. Let's see him. Oh, Robert, there you are. Can you unmute and jump in? Hi.
Hi, I'm here. Just you know, sorry, I was
That's okay.
a
I'm
little
just
bit
because your question, are you saying you
not
got caught trying to change your rate of speech?
not necessarily. It appears as if maybe I was viewed as more of a. This is kind of an example. I would say not necessarily just the rate of speech, just like in general. I was caught doing the other way. So like, oh, this person must be such a slow talker, such and such. But generally, yeah, I think I speak, rather quickly. But kind of an example, it's usually the other way. Like I don't even know. I don't know what kind of question I'm trying to ask, but I guess it's kind of yeah, just yeah, whatever.
Well, I don't know what your question is,
to go on that.
but I'm going to try and guess at it. And what I'm thinking is it doesn't feel natural to you. It sounds like that's
Okay.
what you're trying to say. And if I'm wrong, stop me. But if
Okay.
that's the case, one of the things, because we don't want this to sound fake, because it's not fake. It's not being like sneaky and tricking people. It's making them feel comfortable, because that's what we want to do, right? So if you think about it, if you lead in with just trying to make people feel comfortable rather than trying to manipulate them, because that's not what this is about, then it's almost going to be like, it's going to feel natural. It's going to feel nurturing. It's going to feel like support. Right? When your best friend calls you and starts crying that, I don't know, whatever, she's in a bad relationship or her kid's screaming or whatever, you can either try and teach her and say, this is what you should do, which is just going to make her feel like crap. Or you can support her by saying, I know how you feel. You're not the only one that yells at your kid. I yelled at my kid too. And by mirroring someone's speech, we're supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
Because slow talkers drive me bananas. And it's nothing against them, but it's because I'm a fast talker. I have no patience. I'm like, I just want to get everything done. But the fact of the matter is, if I don't slow my speech down, I'm going to make that person feel uncomfortable. And I'm trying to support them and make them feel good and make them feel safe.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it doesn't feel natural, even after changing your mindset, practice with people. Practice with your friends or practice with other agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
People talk about doing role playing and practicing your scripts. That's a freaking waste of time. Practice talking to people and making them feel comfortable. Practice your language and get in your brokerage or get with people that you know, or jump in a Facebook group and ask for a partner and get on Zoom or get on the phone and practice your skills together.
Okay. I think maybe it's the feedback. Maybe if I don't recognize the fact that maybe that it's a problem, like speaking too fast or something like that, then once you start to realize that it's a problem, then you'll address it. So maybe I can just kind of maybe ask questions or something to see if they actually get along with it, or maybe to see if they're actually comfortable. Instead of just nodding along like, yeah, sure, everything's great. Just keep, yeah.
You can, but, and I think that's a great initiative. It's a great idea, but I don't know, like, if you ask people, and I'm curious, I don't know how this would work, but if you ask people, oh, are you uncomfortable? You're comfortable. They might not feel comfortable enough to tell you they're uncomfortable, right? If you and I are having a conversation and you say, am I talking too fast for you? First of all, I might not feel comfortable to tell you. And second of all, I might not even know that the reason I'm uncomfortable is because of the rate of your speech. But if you think of Stephen Covey, and what did he say? He said a lot of things, but he said, most people, and I'm paraphrasing, most people listen with the intent to answer, not the intent to hear. If you listen to people with the intent to actually hear them, rather than what am I going to say next? How am I going to react? What's it about me? If you actually step back and listen, that's the first step in the battle. And the second thing is getting out what I call your watcher. And your watcher is you outside of yourself, like almost like you're in a movie, right? And if you practice this all the time, you can pull it out when you really need it, which is in that hot seat when you're having a conversation with someone. So imagine, and just as you're going about, and sometimes we do this naturally anyway, but when you're going about your daily life, you might be washing dishes or driving your car. Imagine that you're watching yourself in a movie and just practice it. It's just a way of like detaching and of being present by watching yourself. And if you do that in quiet moments, like you're doing the dishes or you're driving your car or you're going on a walk, if you do that then when there's no stress, when there is stress, you'll be able to pull that out and you'll be able to get a clearer picture of what's going on in this conversation. You'll be able to see yourself and be like, oh my God, I'm acting like a jerk. Or, oh my God, I'm making them feel so comfortable. So getting your watcher out and doing that exercise and practicing it whenever you can will come in extremely handy in moments where you need it. And that I think is a good exercise for you. And if you do it for a while, I would love to hear how it works. So if you drop me a line later and be like, that didn't work, or, oh my God, that was amazing. I would love to hear, because I think that's what your question was about.
Okay. Yeah. I think that should help. Right.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, anything else? All right, well, guys, that was really super fun. I really thank you for having me. And if you have
We thank
later,
you, Janis.
My pleasure.
This was awesome. Remember, guys, tomorrow coffee talk, and then Janis next week, next Thursday at 10 o'clock. So we hope to see everybody with us then. Until then, take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Janis. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.